Well, I'm finally off that frostbitten mountain and relaxing in some dive motel on some cheap sheets. So let's continue our little how to hunt creepy crawlies for idiots. I figured we start with werewolves since I just finished a job for one, and it just seems appropriate. First things first, do not believe the movies. Werewolves can and will transform outside the full moon. The fact that so many people think they are safe outside in the day astounds me. But be it daylight or a moonless night, you can't expect a half-ton furball with razor-sharp teeth to munch on you if given the chance. Secondly, it's not a curse, it's a virus. A dangerous one at that, but it's not magic or anything fancy. Where it started, I don't really know. I do know that the early pilgrims carried it from Europe, and it exploded in the Americas. But silver does, for whatever reason, work on them. Technically, you could just fill them up with it and it'd kill them, but the most effective way is to get the silver pumped through the heart, as it stops the virus from working, thus eliminating the healing factor they have. What I said doesn't seem like a good piece of advice, but just you wait, you impatient little bugger. I'm getting to it. The werewolf bug is something like rabies, except the rabies turn you into a giant fluff monster of death. You can't control it at first, except on full moons. That part Hollywood got right, as for whatever reason it causes the brain to forget who's in charge, as the virus makes its host more primal and savage. That said, not all werewolves are the same for that exact reason. See, as long as you don't hunt or kill things while being all fluffy, you won't go as what we call it feral. Feral werewolves are worse and yet easier to fight than ones who can still think. Often they are far more clever than your average animal. However, they will be driven by their base instincts. This path has occurred because someone couldn't help themselves one too many times and now their old selves are gone. For hunting, these beasts treat it like you would a normal game hunt, because they will treat you as prey. Hunger, however, causes them to lose the advantage. So plant some bear traps around yourself and out in the area, and once you hear that howl pain, pump it full of slugs. And once you're sure it can't get up, very quickly shoot it in the chest with that silver bullet. After that, start burning the thing just to be sure. However, if your werewolf isn't a feral, and it still has the ability to turn back into a human and think as one, then that's where things get tricky. See, those bastards tend to be one of two kinds of people. One is just some unlucky sod who met up with the wrong woods at the wrong time and lived to tell about it with just a bite or scratch, only to discover now they have a huge appetite for raw meat, and now have a very bad hangry session every full moon, and desperately try to hide it, moving somewhere that has woods. Ever have a relative or co-worker that suddenly moved their entire life to be near nature? Yeah, probably got bit by a werewolf. Since there's no cure, it's best to let them think you're there to help and shoot them in the back while they don't notice. Do it quick, both as a mercy to them and because they have a very sensitive hearing. They aren't human anymore. They are just a monster. And there's the second type, the sick bastards that like it. These kind tend to stick in groups or play the lone wolf act. Since they seem to live in harmony with the virus, they tend to last long and control despite devouring and following base instincts. Why is that? I don't really know. I always just called it the prick effect. But, for example, a man once had an adult retreat for couples, and he began to infect everyone who came, or ate them if they refused, and began to make a sizable pack. However, that amount of monster attracts bigger monsters, like the UEG. The werewolves were mopped up, and finished by noon the next day. Saw firsthand what those bastards can do, and let's just say, never felt more jealous of a private contractor than when I saw their gear. That all said, ferals can also make packs. However, it's a lot more raw. While they resemble wolves, ferals do not act like them at all. Ferals breeding natural almost never happens, as they fight over territory almost immediately, prioritizing food over breeding. That fact alone is what stops there from being a werewolf epidemic around the world. But it can happen, and in the case of that, burn everything down with gasoline, and hope you survive the upcoming forest fire. My recent experience today was with a feral that had been reported as a bear that had been taking hikers and campers off a popular trail. So after tracking it last night back to its lair, I found a giant pile of clothes and bones inside. The cave smelled like death, and puke mixed in with wet dog. Regardless, I set up some traps and relaxed at the mouth of the cave and started a fire. They prefer to hunt at night, but werewolves are always hungry, so I started cooking a steak on the fire I made. And sure enough, at noon it came pouncing out and hit a trap. Quick apology. I should have mentioned this in my other post because bear spray is essential to killing a lot of monsters. But regardless, I sprayed that spray into its heightened senses, and it screamed like a banshee. After peppering with some slugs, I topped it off with a silver cherry and burnt it while eating my steak. That's how a successful hunt went. Although not everyone will go like that. With ferals, avoid straying away from the group and going into areas that it can pounce on you from, and try to get it to come to you. From there, stun it with traps, and spray it with bear spray so it further immobilizes it. Then proceed with my recipe, or your own, with how to make the perfect roasted wolf. With the intelligent ones, well, kill the kind souls that are cursed with that sickness quick and painless without them knowing preferably. As for the bastards that enjoy killing, make sure to delay the last step of my recipe for cooked wolf. Instead, make sure the bastards suffer. But in all reality, while they look like beasts, they are humans deep down. Thus remember that when you are hunting a pack of them. From there it's pretty self-explanatory, as you can use a smoke fire to smoke them out of caves, or use a dog whistle to confuse the hell out of them. And please, if you ever find yourself getting bitten by one, do the next hunter a favor, and put down one last monster so another hunter doesn't have to. Don't be like some asshole named Philip, who dies and doesn't even have the courage to... Well, that's enough for today. I'm going to enjoy a cheap warm bath with my cheap motel, and get back to you later.